Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Empyrion Galactic Survival Episode 76. I'm Enigmius, and today we're back with the Manta, continuing with the Manta Assault Hover Vessel build. And I started off with this, and I thought, you know what, I really want to focus on the top of the vessel today, because we've spent so much time in and around this area of the intake vents that it would be nice to offer a little variety. But before I do that, I wanted to make a couple of minor adjustments to this one little area on the intake vents, and also one or two minor adjustments on the front section that we had already done, the top front section that we had already done, because I came across some oddities when I was editing, and I was wondering to myself, how did I manage to do that? And then we were just going to focus entirely on the top section, probably moving from about the midsection of the vessel towards the rear. Didn't work out that way. It's one of these things. It's very dangerous when we go back to make minor adjustments to specific areas on a ship, because one thing cascades into another, and before you know it, you're full swing into major renovations. However, there's still going to be some time spent on the top section so that we can get things closer and closer to being complete and not just constantly reworking everything and never getting anything done. It's just going to take a little bit longer than I thought on account of all the changes that we're going to be making. Now, this was actually a really tricky section with this transition, and I was looking at it from a number of different angles. I was looking at it when I was working on other things. I was looking at it when I was editing the footage, and it didn't work for me. It looked a little bit too busy and a little bit too distracting. It kept pulling at my eye, which is usually the indication that we need to smooth some things out and make whatever changes are necessary in order to allow that. But it definitely wasn't making it easy for us. It was one of those things that just kept going and going. And you'll see as we go here, right there, this is what I mean by it's too busy. It's got that one little spot has just got too much going on, and it makes you want to look at it. So I decided, fortunately, to just leave it for now. And then I said, okay, well, there's that other thing that I wanted to change, and that was this front end, because what we had done in the last episode when we did this final little detail was, in the process of making that detail work the way I was satisfied with, we had to get rid of that channel that we had made. The left side of that channel that we've got running from the front to almost all the way to the back is where it will end up going. It was a intentional design feature, and in the process of trying to make one detail on the top next to that channel work, we got rid of part of it, and that didn't really sit too well with me. So I wanted to revisit this area in the front and regain that little channel so that we could carry on and be a little bit more happy with it. And in this case, I knew it wasn't going to be especially difficult to make this happen. It was just a matter of sitting down and taking care of business, so to speak. And again, looking back at it, I'm like 90% happy with it, but that 10% is going to mean that at some point in the future, we are once again going to be coming back and taking another look at it and making some necessary tweaks and adjustments until we get it where we want it to be. So that's kind of what I meant when I said there was a thing on the intake that I wanted to fix and a thing on the top that we had already done that I wanted to fix. And then that brought us around here towards the back end. And all I knew coming into this was that, first of all, I wanted to carry that channel back a little bit farther, not necessarily all the way back, or certainly not necessarily all the way around to the underside of the ship. There had to be some terminus point somewhere. But in this case, I was allowing myself to be a little bit flexible in terms of where that would be. The other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that at least some attention was paid to how this section that we're working on now, filling in this incomplete area to the right of that center line where the profile line we put comes down, is making sure that it transitions well into the air intake vents. And that would probably necessitate modifying the back end of the air intake on the top of the ship where it sits now. You can see it looks kind of done as far as the intake vent goes. And in order to make that all merge together the way we wanted it to, we were going to have to make some changes, which is fine. I didn't necessarily mind that idea, but it was trying to come together, bring everything together in a way that, again, looked like it was designed. You see that the way those two curves come together on the back, just above the thruster ring there, and there's one is higher than the other from the perspective that we're looking at. So I decided, in order to make this transition the way I want it to, those should both be symmetrical. They should come together the same way. You should be able to look at this. If there was a center line, you should be able to look at the center line on that thruster ring and see those two curves coming back and meeting up with it on the top in the same spot. That's basically what I decided it should do in order to allow us to go ahead and make everything merge properly with the top of the air intake vent. I'm trying to explain my reasoning for why I'm doing this, and I hope I'm being at least somewhat clear so that you can sort of follow along and understand where we're going with this. And this, again, required that we make a number of changes on a much larger scale than I had anticipated. We started off spending time on this intake, the outer structure of it, and as I said, that wasn't really what I had planned on doing for this video. And then we moved back to the front of the ship and the top that we had already done. We made that minor change. And then we started working on this back section on the top. And that brought us right back around to the air intake, making some adjustments so that we can continue working on the back section and have everything come together in a way that we're going to be happy with. It's just the air intake is, it's the star of the show, apparently, inadvertently. It's the prima donna that keeps demanding attention, even though we would rather be focusing our attention elsewhere. But it should be a little bit clear now why we're doing this. It's not just we ended up doing it because we weren't paying attention. There was a reason why we had to spend a little bit of time in this particular area before we could continue on the top section. So we're just kind of rolling with it and doing what we can with what we were given. And eventually, I promise, sooner or later, we're going to declare these air intake vents done. Now, a couple of the other things that I've been looking at sort of with my eye to how the ship is going to come together and what we want to get out of it is where the guns are going to be placed. And one of the things that I want for this ship in particular is to have all of the guns recessed by one block. So they'll be sitting one block down in the hull relative to the blocks around them. And that's just so that they have a lower profile and they're a little bit harder to hit. If you're looking at it from the side, it'll be half the size that they would normally be. And if you're looking at it from the top, well, I mean, it doesn't matter how they're recessed there. If you're shooting down on it, you're going to have a pretty easy job of things anyway. But in order to support that, we have to make sure that we have enough areas where we can do that, where we can come back after the fact and, decide where we want to put the guns and make the necessary changes and then put the guns in place without having to do massive renovations like this. Now, I'm finding more and more that I'm getting use out of the new blocks in unexpected places, and it's actually really handy how they help make some of the transitions easier than they used to be. There's still plenty of jigsaw puzzle action going on to keep us occupied for quite a long time. I actually spent about 2 hours in one sitting. Actually, it was spread over 2 sittings, but close to 2 hours of footage that I've gathered that does end up with us having something resembling a back section that we can look at and start duplicating things on the other side and then start making the final iterative passes to get things fine-tuned to the way that we like them. So it's not going to be that much longer before you guys are going to be able to get a pretty good idea of what this thing is going to look like when it's done. So if you just hang on there for a little while longer, we'll get these intakes taken care of, and then we'll start focusing on the other stuff. So the next episode will be probably more time spent on the stuff that we've already got, modifying it so that we can get everything to come together. And then as soon as we're in a spot where we can move on, that's exactly what we'll be doing. I think you'll like the way it ends up. So if you want to be notified about the next and future episodes, the easiest way to do that, of course, is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.